Welcome to the Savage Nation. Today I'm going to talk about where have all the fiscal conservatives gone. For ages, all we heard about was the Democrats are into tax and spend, tax and spend, tax and spend. Years ago, when I started in radio in the 90s in San Francisco, I met some good liberals who were smart, and they said, well, we're not social conservatives, but we really like the idea of fiscal conservatism. Good. So, in other words, they like the idea of not spending more than you take in. And that was the watchword for 30 years, which is don't spend more than you take in, number one, cut down on government spending, number two, don't burden our children and children's children with debt. Remember all of those years? We don't hear that anymore, do we? Now it's spend, 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 and it's a big, beautiful budget. Big, beautiful budget. $4 trillion added to the debt, and I'm supposed to sit there and take it and say that's wonderful? No, I'm not going to do it. I'm an independent conservative. I'm going to speak my mind. And I cannot believe how stupid people can be. They'll eat up anything thrown in their face. Anything thrown in their face, they will just eat it up. They'll just take it and they will devour it like it's just the gospel. The gospel. So we have a public debt outstanding of $33.2 trillion. And we elect a conservative government under Donald Trump. The next thing we know, there's boasting about expanding the budget by $4 trillion. Okay, that's not good. It's not good, and I'm not the only one who sees it this way. Thank God Ron Johnson of Wisconsin has said you don't defeat the deep state by funding it. The first goal of our budget reconciliation process should be to reduce the deficit. This actually increases it. Thank God for Ron Johnson. He's not the only one. Another good, real conservative senator is Rand Paul of Kentucky. He criticized the bill's $4 trillion increase in the debt ceiling. And Senator Josh Hawley, Missouri, has been outspoken about prospective cuts to Medicaid. Okay, let me go into this. This is a very big deal, and I studied the bill to a certain extent as far as I could, not having the bill in my hand. I found some good things about the bill. But don't blame me for being true to my calling, and don't blame me for being true to conservative values. Because if you do, what does that make you? Think about that. Now suddenly it's good to blow out a budget like this and add $4 trillion to the debt when a year ago you were screaming about the Democrats spending too much? No. I don't buy it. It's a bunch of crap. So what are the good parts of this big, beautiful bill, so-called? There are good parts. I looked into the Medicaid changes, which are very important. And it may be boring to you, but it isn't to me, because I've actually tried to use and have used the local hospital for medical issues. One was a catastrophic visit. The others were more minor visits. And I saw something every time I went there that disturbed the hell out of me, which was the waiting rooms were filled with illegal aliens getting gold-plated Rolls-Royce treatment for free. If one of their children has a runny nose, there's 10 of them in the emergency room, and they're ushered to the front of the line by the plant at the front desk. If you, as a white taxpayer, come in with a heart attack, they tell you to stand at the back of the line. I'm telling you, it happened to me, and I'm sick of it. They've destroyed the medical care in this country. The hospitals are dead. They're sewers, they're cesspools, and they're getting free care that they're not entitled to. So the Medicaid changes include the following: repeal of Biden-era Medicaid access and oversight reforms, including streamlined eligibility. What does that mean? It means Biden and his leftist cohorts made it easier for people to be eligible for Medicaid. That's going to go backwards. New asset tests for long-term care eligibility. What does that mean? It means you want to get that scam called long-term care for free, and I'm supposed to pay for it? Well, there are new tests to see what your assets are. Meaning, do you have money in the bank? Are you earning money? Because if you do, you're not getting free long-term care anymore. Here's another good one in the bill: cuts to Planned Parenthood Medicaid funding. Thank God. Here's another good one: work requirements and bureaucratic hurdles expected to cause millions of eligible adults to lose coverage. Oh, there's work requirements now in order to get Medicaid? Long overdue. Here's another good one in the bill: payment caps on public hospital support programs. Isn't that wonderful? Payment caps on public hospital support programs, long overdue. Now, here's another one, also in the bill that's great: reduction of federal matching funds for expansion populations. That's what they call them now, expansion populations, including what's an expansion population? Undocumented immigrants, meaning illegal alien leeches. So there's a reduction of federal matching funds for expansion populations, meaning undocumented leeches who have been killing our medical system. Okay, period. So there's some good things in the Medicaid area, which I have pointed out. But again, I have to repeat Ron Johnson's statement. He is a fiscal hawk, and he has criticized what Trump has dubbed the, quote, big, beautiful bill. He said this: you don't defeat the deep state by funding it, said Ron Johnson. The first goal of our budget reconciliation process should be to reduce the deficit. This actually increases it. Now, how could you argue with me if you call yourself a conservative and call me names? I cannot believe how, I don't know the word for it. Any criticism of any policy put forward by Trump, you're called a traitor by the stupid people out there. They're the most dangerous people in America. And I call them the blind loyalists. Blind loyalty is blind and very dangerous. It was Trump himself who said a while ago that I guess I could shoot someone on Times Square and get away with it. Are you one of those people? The mark of a good democracy is the ability to criticize the leader of the country, no matter which side of the aisle he may be on. And I am criticizing this grotesque bill, Trump's signature budget bill. It's grotesque. It needs to be started all over again because $4 trillion added to the debt is not fiscal conservatism. It's fiscal suicide. Okay, that's my position. What's your position? There are a lot of other topics that I would like to talk about on this program today, or this broadcast today, but I would say this is the most important of them. And I don't understand. Look what this person wrote, which is great. Doc, rudeness is overtaking reason 100%. You've got people sitting at home. They think that because they just simply throw out a statement, it's true. It's not true just because you state it. Try to be thinking about what you're saying. Try not to be a blind loyalist, because those are the kinds of things that will get this nation in real trouble. Now, I could talk about other topics, which I may or may not do. But before I go away from fiscal conservatism, let me summarize this for you. You ready for this? Feeding the deep state with more money is not controlling the deep state. It's increasing the deep state, right? So here I am, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here for you, and I'm true to my calling. I'm true to my cause, and I'm true to fiscal conservatism, and I'm true to borders, language, and culture, because I'm the man who coined that phrase. No one else. Borders, language, culture, and I'm true to the form of borders, language, and culture. There are other things that are disturbing me right now, which I'd like to talk about for a moment. The war between Ukraine and Russia. Now, we were told by President Trump he would end it before he became president. We understand it was campaign rhetoric. He also said it wouldn't have happened if he was in office. Well, it did happen, and he is in office, and he can't stop it. The reason he can't stop it is quite complicated, and it may not be stopped. And that's because the deep state is still running the Defense Department, still running the intelligence agencies, and still wants the war to go on, in case you don't know it. You know, the best laid plans of mice and men, so-called, they want this war to go on. It was a deep state in America that started this war between Russia and Ukraine. If you will study it, you will see how it started. Go back to 2014 to the Maidan Revolution, and you'll see who funded it. You will see images of John McCain up there screaming about overthrowing a duly elected leader who was friendly with Russia, and calling for the overthrow of that leader and installing instead a puppet called Zelensky. It wasn't Zelensky initially, but it became Zelensky. The same John McCain and Victoria Nuland and others tried to overthrow the duly elected leader of Egypt to cause a revolution in Egypt. There's some very bad people in this government, and they haven't gone away. and they're still there. And they don't want the war between Ukraine and Russia to end. And if you keep provoking Russia, never forget that they are a thermonuclear power. They have missiles that could reach London, Paris, Rome, and the United States of America through their submarines. So stop being a loyal moron who says Russia's evil, Russia's evil, Russia's evil, Ukraine good, Ukraine good, Ukraine good. They both have lost hundreds of thousands of men because of the manipulations and machinations of the American deep state. The same deep state that is being funded with an additional $4 trillion by this big, beautiful bill. You want me to talk about a few other topics? I can do so. Tell me what else you'd like me to talk about, because I'll be glad to take them on. There's a lot of other topics out there that are starting to bug me very deeply. I'd be glad to touch on them if you would care for me to comment upon them. I'd be glad to do it. The spending is one of them. It's probably the biggest thing. The war going on is another big thing, because I don't see the war ending. I see it getting worse. I see it getting much, much worse before it gets better. So the Ukrainians have wasted 600,000 of their own men. The Russians about 200,000 to 300,000, to the best of my ability to discern the deaths. No one really knows, because both sides are hiding the number of deaths for their own domestic consumption. The only evidence we have of how many men have been killed in this horrible war are through the graves that have been dug in these countries, that have been seen by satellite imagery. And there are people who have analyzed it, and they have told us that about 600,000 Ukrainians have been slaughtered, and 200,000 to 300,000 Russians have been slaughtered. That's 1 million men. 6 to 8 million Ukrainians have been driven out of their own country. The country is decimated because of this war. It's time to end it. Now, there's another topic, and I've touched on it, and right away the loyalists attacked me, but I don't give a damn. If they're too stupid to know what's going on, I can't help them. In every classroom, there's always stupid people. The only difference is now they can go onto X and type something and think that they're brilliant. They're still the dummies and the vagrants who should be thrown out of the classroom. And that is the next topic. This U.S. Steel, I don't like this at all. I don't like it at all. I think we're being sold a terrible bill of goods. And only one or two people in the conservative media have said, wait a minute, what about national security? Japan is our friend now, but does that mean they'll be our friend tomorrow? That's number one. Number two, you don't know this, but Japan is going to be mining our own ore here in the United States of America to put into those mills to make the steel. They own the company. They own U.S. Steel. Not everything should be seen through the lens of how much money we're making. I mean, you have to see beyond the dollar, don't you? Everything is a dollar bill? You can't figure this out? Everything is a dollar to the average person. Well, no, not everything's not a dollar. That's why the spirit of America is in such trouble. It's because we've lost our moral underpinnings and we've lost our spiritual core in this nation. And the spiritual core ties into the, quote, big, beautiful bill, the steel mill and everything else, the buying of U.S. Steel, selling it to the Japanese because they were the highest bidder. It's like the country is being sold to the highest bidder. Rape the forests, rape the seas, poison the air. As long as you can make money, it's a big, beautiful thing. No, it isn't. We are the shepherds of this earth as we stand on this earth together. And we have to hand over to the next generation and the generations after them what we have inherited, not rape it for an immediate gain. That's how I see it. And now you know why I'm an independent conservative and not really welcome in the MAGA movement. I never considered myself part of the MAGA movement. I always thought it was a bunch of a Pied Piper leading a bunch of people over the cliff, and they have. There's no fiscal conservatism. There's war. There's greed. There's pestilence. It's not stopping. Something is wrong. And if I'm not going to say it, I'm going to leave the media. The day I feel that I have to not say what I truly believe, which I've been doing since I began in the media almost 30 years ago, I will simply stop talking. I'll leave the media. I'll give up my podcasts, which are doing great. I'll give up the TV shows. I'll just leave. I don't need this pain in the neck. I can also just not do this. I can just do hikes in the woods and look at rare plants. I can just do YouTube pieces on health and nutrition. Speaking of which, I could go into that. This whole movement by Kennedy sounds good on paper, but there's something disturbing about it. There's a few things disturbing about Maha Movement, the Maha Movement, Make America Healthy Again. I like the idea of it a great deal. But as I said from the beginning, firing every scientist in the NIH is the stupidest thing I ever heard in my life. Not every scientist is corrupt. Not all of science is corrupted. And for Kennedy to have come along and say, I'm going to clean out, everyone's getting fired, stupid. Now, he's, of course, now in a quagmire. He's hit a stone wall on a number of levels. What I have forgotten about alternative medicine, he never learned. And the fact of the matter is he's surrounded by people who are quite facile in the health business. They just speak in bold slogans without truly understanding the depth of what they're trying to achieve and what it's going to take. Of course, we want food additives taken out of the foods. Of course, we want chemicals taken out of the food and pesticides. I've been writing about it since 1974, so I'm all for it. That's a good thing. But firing every scientist in the NIH is not a good thing. That's not smart science, nor is it making America healthy again. It's going to do the opposite. And not all science is corrupted, by the way. You got that idea during COVID, and you have most people who are going along with that idea are illiterates, science illiterates. They also hate educated people. And in that sense, they're very much like the Bolsheviks or the communists, even though they call themselves conservatives or right-wingers. They're actually just like the Bolsheviks. They hate educated people. They hate people in science. They hate people in the arts. It's true. The reality is it's true. They resent them and they're jealous of them. So they'd like to tear down the arts and the sciences and medicine itself, all bad. Now, these are the general ideas of things that are on my mind, and I think I've covered most of them, and I think that what we have said so far is enough for today. There's a couple of other things that need to be looked at here on the Savage Nation. Can you explain to me why the Defense Department's budget has actually increased rather than decreased? If there was so much fraud and waste, shouldn't Hegseth, who's really not running the company, he's a front man for those who are, and the same deep state is still running the Defense Department, by the way? Oh, I'm glad they got rid of the DEI. I'm glad the recruitment is higher than it's been in 30 years. That's all good stuff. The morale is back in the military. That's great. But look where the money is going. Let's look at the money in the Defense Department. What is it going towards? What is it not going towards? Why has the spending not been decreased? If you're going to save hundreds of billions of dollars by cutting out waste and fraud in the defense spending, which could easily be done, by the way, you should have enough money left over to run the Defense Department for national security needs alone. But I'm not seeing that. So again, if you want common sense, that's what I'm trying to give you. I'm speaking to you from the point of view of a knowledgeable common sense that is becoming so rare right now in the MAGA movement that I think there is no MAGA movement left. There's just soldiers who go along and will run into a machine gun no matter what is thrown in their face. They can't discern one fact from the other, one reality from the other, and they don't want to. All they want to do is say things are better than it was under Biden, or he was also a crook. So I'm not saying Donald Trump is a crook. I'm telling you that everything he does is not saintly and everything he suggests is not great. And you've got to now start to put on your critical thinking cap before we have nothing left to hold on to. That, my friends, is all I have to say. There's more that can be said on many other topics, but I think that this is all I care to say today on the Savage Nation. If you like what you've heard, that's why you've been a loyal follower of the Savage Nation for all these decades. If you don't like what you've heard, then don't listen to me. I don't care if you do or you don't. Okay, that's it, folks. Hit the like button on YouTube, wherever you have to tell people about it. And I think I'm re-inspired to continue on these subjects over the next few years. I read today that the oldest practicing doctor is 102 years old. I was so inspired to read this man's story. What he eats, he eats mainly fish and vegetables, as I've told you for years. The whole idea of the carnivore diet is the most deadly diet I've ever seen in my life. I'm going to do a whole show on it. I'm not going to bother doing it now. The data supports everything I have said to you about this. This is the greatest scam and fraud in the history of nutrition, is to push the carnivore diet on poor, innocent people who are getting sick like dogs. They're getting heart attacks. They're getting diabetes. I can tell you one case after another. People do not understand the first thing about nutrition. Well, I've been studying it for 40 years. 40 years, not 4 years, 40 years. And my first important book on the subject was called The Skeptical Nutritionist, written in 1983 before my detractors were even born. So I'll do a whole show one day on the falsehoods of the carnivore diets. But this old doctor, 102 years old, said the following. Let's see. He doesn't smoke. Check that. He eats fish and vegetables. Check that. Occasionally, very occasionally, meat. Occasionally, very occasionally. Exercises every day, moderately, on his machine. Married to the same woman for 60 years. Check that. If you can pull that one off, that's a miracle. It's a beautiful story, and it's inspiring to me when I see the hatred on the internet, on X, where I spend too much time, or on Facebook, or on Instagram. I see the most bigoted, stupid people I've ever encountered in my life. And you know what? I reach a point of not wanting to continue, because I don't want to put up with it anymore. So what I'm going to do is, I have an assistant who blocks the most egregious. I don't care if you disagree with what I'm saying. If you disagree with me logically, intelligently, and with facts, fine. But if you attack me personally, we just eliminate you from the site. You're blocked forever. I can talk about this obsession with Ozempic and weight loss drugs and what it's doing to people, the dangers of these drugs. And I tied it together to the loss of the spirituality of America. We become like ancient Greece, which fell for the very same reasons. When you're obsessed only with the body image rather than the soul within the body, eventually the nation dies. So the people will take the most vile drugs, like Ozempic and others, to lose weight, to look good, while rotting their body out, and they don't care. They'd rather live another day looking skinny than live a healthy life for a longer period of time. Again, this is an example of a dying nation, to look good. You see what I'm saying? So on Sundays, I do what I used to call God Talks. Now I changed it to God, not God Talks. It's God Talks. Yeah, God Talks to you. I've given it other titles. I have my title written up for tomorrow already. I had no inspiration for it, and then it finally came to me. So I'm going to do a God Talk tomorrow morning. I do a fresh podcast on Tuesdays and on Fridays. And of course, my Sunday night TV show on Newsmax is the most important thing I'm doing right now. The audience is 10 times larger than anything else that I do. But more than that, I love doing the Newsmax shows. It's actually a whole new experience for me. What I do for you here on X Live or on YouTube, wherever you're watching it, or on FaceTime, is different than live television. It's not totally different, but it's somewhat different. And I love taking some of these broadcasts, such as this one, which will become a part of another show. Probably the part about fiscal conservatism will wind up as a portion of a show a week from now. I love to see how it translates into broadcast television that is seen around the world. And I love working with the TV producer that I have, who actually can visualize how this is going to look and sound, and helps make the bridges a little better. So last week we had a wonderful show which showed my visit to Florida, and I compared Florida to California. I was with my son for his birthday, and then we went on to the myth of genocide in South Africa in Block C of the show, which is super important. And I consulted with a man who's actually from South Africa, not a rhetorician or a person who just wants to throw the word genocide out there without knowing what the hell he's talking about. True genocide is important to know and important to understand. What is going on in Gaza is not genocide. What's going on against white people in South Africa is not genocide. Study before bloviating, okay? Study what happened to the Armenians under the Ottoman Turks, the Muslims. That was genocide. Study what was done to the Jews by Hitler. That was genocide. Study other true genocides, and you'll understand what it really means instead of throwing it around without understanding what the hell you are talking about. The people in Gaza, although they are living a horrible life right now because of Hamas, which rules them like gangsters, of course, heavily armed gangsters, steal all the food that is supplied by Israel. And the people in Gaza are even daring to say it now. Of course, it's a human tragedy, but it was brought about by Hamas, which attacked Israel on October 7th, and now they're paying for it because the Israelis showed that the Jews can't be kicked around anymore. You screw with the Jews, you're going to get killed. It's that simple. They learned their lesson. Have a Bible in one hand and an Uzi in the other, or you'll disappear. And so they're wiping out Hamas, wiping them off the map. And unfortunately, the people in Gaza are suffering. But they're not being killed through genocide. That's the new big lie of the left. So I try to cover that with regard last Sunday's TV show to South Africa, and I consulted with Joel Pollack of Breitbart News, who is from South Africa, whose family lives in South Africa, and he said, yes, the white farmers are being targeted by about 25% of the black population who follow that maniac who says, kill the farmer, kill the boer. And he said, it's a very dangerous situation in South Africa, and there's mass murder going on in South Africa, but mass murder is not genocide. Very important distinction that I tried to clarify for you, but I have to ask you a question. Is intelligence still respected in this world of the media, where every moron could just throw out a statement and think he's clever for making a statement that is untrue? I don't know. I don't know if there's a place for intelligence or intelligent dialogue anymore in this country or in the West. I don't know. But all I know is this. I'm motivated by that 102-year-old doctor to keep on going until God calls me. And thus far, he hasn't. And I want to thank God for giving me this opportunity to speak with you today about these very important topics. I'm Michael Savage. Thank you very much for being here. And